Yeah, it makes it difficult to poke out and do any kind of defending with your roaches when they have so many speedlings and your expansion hatch is so far away.
Alright, PantsB has invited me to a game, so it looks like we're going to get in on the final game between PantsB and Kami. I believe it's the final game. Alright, and I'm going to turn off the tunes and we'll enjoy ourselves a delightful game here. Alright, I have confirmed PantsB and Kami are tied 1-1 in the best of 3 here, so this is going to be the deciding game. I think we'll be ready to roll here in just a second, and we'll see a great PvT on GSL Crossfire.
Looks like PantsB actually tried out a 4-gate variation on the first game and got horribly destroyed with it.
Well, I know Kami knows like one base timing push that I know of, and he does it pretty darn well from the time I've seen him. I think I actually saw him beat Praetor, who I want to think is Platinum, and Kami was still Bronze.
Yeah, well,
Yeah,
it was sort of our fault. I'm getting some echo from one of you guys.
I'm thinking it's Kedenik. If you're not using headphones, I'd recommend it.
Yeah, unfortunately, not really an option because of the way I'm using Dino to stream, and they can't stream system sound. Basically, I need to use speakers, but I'll just try to be good about push to talk so it doesn't echo. If it becomes an issue, I'll grab some headphones.
So you've got your stream active as well?
Yeah, I figure we could both stream.
Whatever you like. Seems somewhat redundant. We can move everybody over to one or the other, but whatever works. We're in the same game here. It doesn't really matter.
Alright, so we've got PantsB spawning up in the top right as the purple Protoss, and down in the bottom left we have Kami spawning in the bottom left, I already said that, as the blue Terran. So what's interesting to see is that the timing push that we're actually talking about is literally the only build Kami knows how to do well. A few of us actually spent a while with him in an evening, a few hours, just getting him to go do it over and over and over again. By the end of it, he was actually reliably beating both myself and Praetor as Zerg. So it'll be interesting to see whether he does it again, knowing that PantsB is going to know it's coming, or if he tries to mix things up and do something fancy.
Yeah, we'll be excited to see.
So would it be fair to say that Kami is essentially a bronze player who has been finely tuned and trained to basically perform at a platinum level with one specific build?
That would be pretty accurate, yeah. I don't know about platinum level, but I mean, he's beaten... Well, like I said, he's beaten both myself as Zerg and Praetor as Zerg. Both, originally he was only beating us because we were sort of playing down a bit to sort of let the build work. But then after a while we were like, alright, let's do our best to hold this off, and he just kept beating us.
Yeah, now this particular timing push, it's like, what is it, an 8-minute one base timing push?
It's an 8-minute one base timing push. He's actually made a modification to it himself though. He cuts SCVs at 21 now because he's not really confident with expanding, so he doesn't want the game to go long. So what he does, rather than keep making SCVs that aren't really going to be useful to him, he cuts at 21 and heads out across the map before Stim is finished, so that he arrives just as it finishes.
And Pants did pull some of his probes off the line and murder one of his opponent's SCVs as we were discussing strategy there.
It is actually something Kami doesn't really care about. He doesn't do anything with his scouting SCV. He also brutally is determined to get this scouting probe to PantsB and sending 2 SCVs after it.
Yeah, I'm not thinking they're going to be too
like
successful. Now this, I'm thinking this one-base timing push is. Oh, Jeff, excellent for dropping out of the stream. Apparently he was watching and we were describing Kami's build too easily and he thought it would be too much like cheating. So good manner on Jeff.
In case they hit later in the brackets.
Yeah, I think that's probably a nice sportsman-like option from Jeff there. If he knows when and what's coming, he'll not have too much trouble defeating it, I don't think.
Now, what kind of play have we been seeing out of PantsB in the last few games? What kind of tech? Just what's his general play style like?
The first game, he just he's a pretty typical sort of platinum player from what I've seen. He's got a lot of builds, none of them particularly crisp, but all of them varied enough to be sort of able to do them. Like for example, right now he's floating quite a lot of minerals, going for a robo build.
Poor Kami is mentioning he's feeling a lot of pressure, and this is, I think, his first tournament ever, so I'm hoping he'll do well, just for our new friend.
I think taking a game off of one of the most experienced platinum players here is a pretty big achievement. PantsB has over 1,000 games played.
Now, would you be expecting Immortal play out of this robotics facility, or perhaps a Colossus rush?
I think it's most likely going to be a couple of Immortals. He knows roughly when Kami's planning to attack, because Kami has done the same thing every game against him, and the Immortals are going to come out a lot quicker than a Colossus is going to come out to make a difference. But it looks like he is actually going 2-gate Robo, 1-base Colossus.
Yeah, he's going to get one Immortal out and then switch over to Colossus. I'm not sure he'll have the Colossus in time. That's the unfortunate thing. And I don't think one Immortal is going to cut it against the stim from the Terran.
That said, however, he will have 3 force fields, probably 4 force fields by the time the Terran attack gets to his base. But he has to be careful, because if he warps in any more sentries than that, he's not going to have the gas for Colossus. Realistically, he really shouldn't have made that second sentry, but he has, so we'll have to see what happens.
It's also a bit questionable that he's warping in an observer, given that he knows his opponent has a specific strong timing push in mind, and then spending money to go scout, when really he has a good read on his opponent.
Well, also that scouting in this situation, you know, a 2-gate or 3-gate Robo Colossus build off 1 base isn't a flexible build. You can't change what you're doing. You have to go the Colossus. If you don't go the Colossus, you've essentially wasted a lot of resources. And so when he scouts, even if Kami's not doing what he expects him to do, he's not going to be able to change his build to affect that.
It does look like the first Colossus will be out in time, if not exactly when this attack hits, but if he survives the initial attack, it'll pop out roughly the same time. It should be able to help somewhat.
Well, he shouldn't have a problem taking it out, because he is 10 supply ahead. Kami has a good 6 or 7 of that supply is still back at his base, while PantsB has the defender's advantage. But he also does have a lot of zealots, and I don't know that that's what you really want in this situation.
So
that's probably the worst army management.
The Colossus actually being sniped down. That's a great move by Kami right there. I don't know. Which way do you think this battle's going to go?
Well, I think PantsB is going to hold, mainly because the Immortal's still alive, and Kami hasn't really microed his army at all or tried to target down anything in particular.
Yeah, he did get that Colossus right off the bat. He almost got the Immortal. Did a pretty good amount of damage, but I guess the food lead of PantsB was just too much to overcome, especially given that he had the defender's advantage, as you mentioned.
Yeah, it looks like Kami is
Yeah.
just going to mass up and try it again, because I guess if the first you don't succeed, it's best to just build the same stuff and give it another whirl.
One thing I can say for Kami is not only does he execute his build extremely well, he's done it for long enough that he's experienced enough to continue macroing. He's very good at not focusing on his army. Like we were saying there, he didn't have any army control, but that's probably because he was back at his base, not even looking at the battle.
And I will say that for a bronze player, that is pretty impressive. And given that his last attack was actually pretty efficient, and that the Protoss player is now expanding, he might do a lot of damage here. Now, Ellis did a good job of tanking that damage. It doesn't look like this attack's going to be terribly effective, but it did pare down the immortal count once again. And actually, we do have Kami slightly ahead in food because his attacks have actually pretty efficiently wiped out the Protoss army each time, and he's moving out with another attack as we speak.
Exactly, and I think PantsB is sort of... He's going to get one more warp in to deal with this. And he's not going to have, unless he warps into more sentries, he's not going to have any more force fields. So if his Colossus control is as bad as it was in the previous times they fought, we're going to have the same problem again. And he's actually wasting a significant chunk of resources starting a new Colossus and making gas key guys when he should have warped in another round of units.
Yeah, Pants might just move his way to victory. The Colossus is doing great damage, but those Marauders can kill it pretty quickly. It just barely... The fact that he waited until the Colossus was the last thing left to hit it just barely caused that attack to fail, but it did pretty well, all things considered.
This is actually looking pretty even, given that PantsB not only is more experienced, but also knew exactly what was coming. Kami is actually ahead on workers, despite not having his base, his expansion even started. And while PantsB has the tech advantage in the Colossus, it's still a close game.
Well, Kami is looking to add a new wrinkle to the build here because he is dropping another barracks, and it looks like he's putting a CC down to expand. So I think he's realized that it's not going to work just pushing up there, and if he can wipe an army and expand behind it, and maybe cause some damage to Pants' econ at his expansion, then he'll be ahead.
Without the defensive bonus of his ramp, I think Pants is going to have an extremely difficult time.
And I will say, I'm very impressed by Kami's play, just for the fact that as a bronze player, he's been able to macro on par with a platinum player, continue to be aggressive to macro and even expanding behind it. It's really pretty impressive, given that he was basically just a bronze player, really still is. And this attack could do great damage. He's auto-attacking down one of the Colossi first. He's even focusing the next one down, and this army might do really well with those Colossi out of the picture, but there are a lot of reinforcements, a new Colossi popping.
Look at that, Kami is still even on food because he's still been macroing this whole time. Now he has his expansion. Still got more workers. So if he can get that expansion down, drop a couple bunkers and defend, he'll be in good shape to continue this game. The only problem that I see with continuing this game, obviously, is that Kami is sort of playing by ear at this point, whereas PantsB probably has a specific goal that he wants to go for.
Yeah, and having had his expansion up for longer, PantsB is really starting to pull ahead. Higher tech units, he's got that Colossus. Kami is suffering somewhat for having difficulty focusing down Colossi first. He did do pretty well at that in that last battle, but it's not an area that he has a lot of experience with as a bronze player who usually doesn't even make it this far into the game. He's playing very well, but I wonder if he's going to have the experience necessary just to manage his units properly, to really understand the situation and decide how to approach it.
I think the main issue with where we're at in this game now is that Kami hasn't been in this situation enough to be comfortable with it. He may know instinctively when he thinks about it what he needs to do in this situation. He can think about it and say, I need to add more production buildings and all of that. But PantsB, when you've played 1,000 games, it doesn't matter if you haven't improved enough to be out of platinum after those games, you know, kind of a platinum Joe K, but that's not the important issue, you know. The important issue is that PantsB is going to be comfortable in this type of situation where Cammy isn't.
I think that's a really good way of putting it, that he's just not comfortable. It's a little bit off-putting to be playing at a phase in the game that you don't have a lot of experience in directly. But he is doing a great job at keeping his money low. Again, for a bronze player, it's really unheard of. It's a bit unfortunate that last attack came in kind of unsupported. He had a big chunk of his army just kind of sitting at home, not really able to reach the Protoss base in time to help. Didn't even do any damage, only almost killed one Colossus. So that last attack, it did set him back a fair bit. The Protoss expansion advantage is now putting him a fair bit ahead. But, you know, Kami has done pretty well for a bronze player going up against a platinum player in a best of 3.
Yeah, exactly. He's taken a game off him, and quite convincingly as well. I believe PantsB actually did what has been called the Dalgate. And Kami did that, defended that, you know, with a fair bit of ease, from what I've been told. And not only that, but for more examples of what I was talking about, you know, PantsB is now throwing down his third as a gold expansion. And Kami's not even thinking about something like that, whereas PantsB's right, alright, I've got my 2 bases, I've got my decent army, I've fended off his attacks, I'm building up my army, now it's time to take a third. Whereas Kami, it doesn't really have that sort of thought process. Right now he's probably thinking, just what the hell do I do now? But for all that, everything else he's doing is absolutely excellent. For what he's doing it so well.
PantsB, though, he has been solidifying his lead. He has another expansion, as you mentioned, and having just finished +1 ground armor, it looks like he's looking to be aggressive. And Kami killing 1 Colossi, but losing so much of his army in the process thanks to those force fields. He recognizes that he's been beaten, and he GG's out, and I believe that PantsB wins the series and knocks Kami down to the loser's bracket.
Alright, I had some mention that the stream had gotten laggy again. I'm going to go check the chat here.
Okay, in the meantime, I'll look at the kits and check into the next set of games that we might be able to hop in and shout, cast. So I think we could cast Jeff versus PantsB. That would probably be a good series to hop into next if the players are agreeable.
Yeah, sounds good to me. I'm having some problems with the stream. Apparently it's gotten laggy again, which seems peculiar because it was doing quite well before we got the mumble thing going. So I'm going to restart it again and see if I can